This week in Jamaica Now, China defends its 53-year-old relationship with Jamaica amid renewed concerns from the United States over Beijing's influence in the region.
You're not crazy. Certainly, I am not mad.
Cabinet Minister Audrey Marks says she did not propose the controversial plan for Jamaica to receive up to 10,000 third country nationals from the United States. Hundreds gathered in Crossroads demanding greater government accountability. Stakeholders say the increase in the national minimum wage is welcome but still falls short of meeting the rising cost of living. And Jamaicans urged to protect themselves against heat-related illnesses as temperatures soar. I'm Neville Graham, and this is Jamaica Now. China is defending its 53-year relationship with Jamaica, citing more than US $2.1 billion in investments and recent disaster assistance as evidence of a mutually beneficial partnership. The response follows comments by United States Ambassador-designate to Jamaica, Carrie Lake, who told a U.S. Senate hearing that, if confirmed, she intends to counter China's growing influence in Jamaica. In a statement to the Gleaner, the Chinese embassy said China remains committed to equality, mutual benefit, and shared development with Jamaica and the wider Caribbean. It stressed that China-Latin America cooperation is based on openness and mutual respect and is not directed at any third party. According to the embassy, bilateral trade exceeded US $1.4 billion in 2025, while Chinese companies have invested more than US $2.1 billion, creating over 40,000 direct jobs, with more than 80% of employees being Jamaicans. The embassy also highlighted projects including the North-South Highway, the Hugh Lawson Shearer Building, the Western Children's Hospital, and educational exchanges through the Confucius Institute at the University of the West Indies, Mona. It further noted that China provided financial assistance, emergency supplies, and medical support following Hurricane Melissa. The response comes months after U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio described some of China's overseas activities as predatory. Cabinet Minister Audrey Marks has denied proposing the controversial arrangement under which Jamaica could receive up to 10,000 third country nationals from the United States of America. Speaking publicly on the issue for the first time, Marks said reports have confused the proposed third country nationals memorandum of understanding with a separate initiative she developed while serving as Jamaica's ambassador to Washington to recruit skilled foreign workers. She also dismissed suggestions that she originated the proposal.
You're not crazy. Certainly, I am not mad. I would not go to the United States to do any proposal for taking in 10,000 criminals. And what bothers me is that somehow they seem to have gained traction.
Marks said Jamaica was approached by the United States on January 2 of this year to consider participating in the program. She noted that Washington already has similar arrangements with 27 countries and has ongoing negotiations with at least 54 others. However, a diplomatic note from the U.S. Embassy in Kingston, previously shared with the Gleaner, states that Marks proposed an arrangement under which Jamaica would receive up to 10,000 third country nationals during discussions with a U.S. Homeland Security official in Miami in March. When the Gleaner first sought clarification last month, Marks declined to directly address questions about her role, noting that it was not protocol to comment on the matters that fall in the portfolio of other ministers, and that she supported the cabinet-approved process. A call for greater government accountability drew hundreds of people clad in yellow to Crossroads in St. Andrew early Tuesday morning as the Advocates Network for Jamaicans staged a public rally highlighting concerns about governance, transparency, and constitutional reform. Retirees, civil society representatives, and activists were among those attending. Among the issues raised were the government's undisclosed MOU with the United States under the Third Country Nationals Program, the Integrity Commission's findings involving Cabinet Minister Dr. Andrew Wheatley, and concerns over unspent Hurricane Melissa relief funds. Speakers also criticized delays in publishing the FinSAC report, the handling of the Stocks and Securities Limited fraud, the slow completion of Cornwall Regional Hospital, and broader issues affecting healthcare, infrastructure, and public accountability.
Number one, we say release and publicize the MOU. We want the MOU to be tabled in Parliament so that the people can see what you have been doing supposedly on our behalf. We employ you for the Prime Minister. You answer to us. As we said, very simple and very clear. We are demanding also. We're not asking. We're not making no request. That the government of Jamaica employ to us. Take the money that they have for release, for providing relief for Jamaicans. 9 months later, people are on the tarpaulin, people are on the bench, people are on the trees. We are saying, spending the money responsibly on what it was intended for.
Convener Kay Osborne said the rally reflected growing public frustration. Osborne said the group's immediate demand is for the TCN MOU to be tabled in Parliament and for implementation to be paused until legislatures have reviewed it. Jamaica Coalition for a Healthy Society head said transparency and accountability were key reasons for his participation, while attorney at law Philippa Davis questioned the pace of hurricane recovery despite millions of dollars in relief donations. Opposition leader Mark Golding and several People's National Party parliamentarians also attended but did not address the gathering. It will cost taxpayers about 25 billion Jamaican dollars to execute the next phase of the Shared Prosperity through Accelerated Improvement to the Road Network, or SPARK, program. The government officially launched the main roads component on Thursday, even as public frustration grows over deteriorating road conditions across the island. 37 major roads in 11 parishes have been earmarked for rehabilitation, including key corridors in Kingston and St. Andrew, St. Catherine, St. James, Hanover, St. Anne, St. Mary, Clarendon, and Manchester. Works Minister Robert Morgan said the selected roads carry heavy daily traffic and represent the government's priority list.
SPARK is a $45 billion infrastructure program. And for the first time in Jamaica's history, over 300 community roads are now in the process of being constructed. I have to repeat it over and over again, Minister Grange. There's never been a time in Jamaica's history that the government has attempted to rehabilitate 300 roads in the span of 2 years. And I think that is something we should congratulate the government and the people of Jamaica for. 37 main roads have been identified and are going to be publicly presented today as the priority roads for our main road program. In addition, or including, are two major grade separated interventions that will address critical congestion points in the corporate area.
Morgan also stressed that accountability would be central to the program amid concerns that repaired roads often deteriorate quickly. Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness said the government is focusing on rebuilding roads rather than carrying out temporary patching, with China Harbour Engineering Company serving as the main contractor. Holness acknowledged public frustration, but noted that completely repairing Jamaica's road network would cost between $5 trillion and $7 trillion, an amount equivalent to Jamaica's entire budget over 5 years. He also admitted that limited contractor capacity remains one of the biggest challenges facing the program.
One of the challenges that we're facing with the current Spark program is that we simply just don't have the contracting horsepower to manage all the roads all at once. And the government is contemplating how we can support the development of a contractor class in Jamaica. I mean, I hate to put it that way, but how we can develop the contractor capacity in Jamaica. So, to move away from the notion of the contractor as a one-man operation who is engaged on a short-term basis and operating out of their bag, essentially, to the notion of the contractor who is a corporate entity that is invested with a balance sheet that can fund, finance, and carry the works that they are contracted to undertake, and to move them to a higher level of professional conduct. We do have some contractors who are exhibiting that level of enterprise operations that we require to do this level of operations. But there are some that continually disappoint, and we will have to address that.
The latest phase is expected to be completed within 15 months. The overall Spark program, valued at $45 billion, was launched in December 2024. Public passenger vehicle operators across Jamaica are now charging the full 16% fare increase approved by the government. The adjustment was implemented in 2 phases, with the first 8% taking effect on June 2 and the remaining 8% becoming effective on July 1. The government says the phased approach was designed to reduce the immediate impact on commuters while helping transport operators cope with rising fuel, maintenance, and operating costs. The increase applies to licensed public passenger vehicles across the island, although some operators argue that even the full 16% adjustment is still insufficient to cover their expenses. The increase in Jamaica's national minimum wage has taken effect, but some stakeholders argue it still falls short of providing workers with a decent standard of living. The weekly minimum wage has increased from $16,000 to $17,000. Overtime pay has also been moved from $600 per hour to $637.50 per hour, while the double time rate is to be increased from $800 per hour to $850 per hour for work done on rest days or public holidays. The government says the increase reflects its commitment to supporting low-income workers and has encouraged employers to pay more where possible. However, with inflation at 5.5%, business and labor representatives argue that the increase will do little to offset rising living costs. Garnet Reid, president of the Small Business Association of Jamaica, said many workers expected an increase but believes workers need additional support. He noted that Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness had previously pledged to raise the minimum wage to $18,500, but the government later cited Hurricane Melissa along with higher energy and shipping costs as reasons for scaling back the increase this year. Meanwhile, Jamaica Household Workers Union President Elaine Duncan said $17,000 is still not a livable wage and urged the government to move beyond minimum wage discussions toward establishing a true living wage. Jamaica Employers Federation President Wayne Chen said employers want workers to keep pace with inflation, but warned that wage increases must be matched by higher productivity through improved skills training and better use of technology. Jamaicans are being urged to take steps to prevent dehydration and other heat-related illnesses as the country continues to experience unusually high temperatures. Health Promotion and Education Officer for Westmoreland, Gerald Miller, warned that prolonged exposure to extreme heat increases the risk of heat stress and heat exhaustion, particularly among children and older adults and people who work outdoors. Symptoms include headaches, dizziness, nausea, muscle cramps, excessive thirst, fatigue, and reduced urination. Residents are being encouraged to drink plenty of water, limit sugary and alcoholic beverages, wear light, loose-fitting clothing, seek shade whenever possible, and avoid prolonged exposure to direct sunlight. Miller also recommended the regular use of sunscreen, taking frequent breaks during strenuous activities, ensuring children remain hydrated, and paying close attention to official weather advisories. CARICOM is to convene a regional meeting to examine issues affecting Rastafarians amid continuing reports of discrimination and marginalisation across the Caribbean. The Guyana-based CARICOM Secretariat said representatives from member states and other stakeholders will discuss ways to strengthen protections for Rastafarians and address long-standing concerns about exclusion from education, employment, and public life. Regional leaders agreed during last month's intersessional meeting that greater attention must be given to ensuring the full recognition of Rastafarians' rights. A committee comprising representatives from Jamaica, Barbados, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and Trinidad and Tobago will also be established to advance discussions at both the regional and international levels. CARICOM said several member states have already introduced measures to address historical injustices, including public apologies, land grants, and anti-discrimination protections, which could help shape a coordinated regional approach. And that's it for this edition of Jamaica Now, your weekly review of the big news stories. Send us your comments at onlinefeedback@gleanerjm.com. Follow us on X and Instagram at Jamaica Gleaner and on Facebook at Gleaner Jamaica. Like this video on our YouTube page, turn on your notifications, and subscribe today. I'm Neville Graham.